Good afternoon, James.
Hi, hiya, you all right?
Yeah. So this is the first time we've ever spoken, isn't it?
Yeah, it's we've
Yeah.
been chatting on socials for a bit, and I just obviously my algorithm has picked up, everything you do. It's putting it in my feed, and just all of your interviews and everything that you're doing at the moment. I just think so brilliant that you're archiving, the cultural landscape of Manchester then and now. It's really great that you're doing that in such a way that's bringing it to life and preserving it.
Yeah, thanks, Jade. And one thing I've been impressed with you is that I read your comments and it's like, oh wow, she knows her stuff and she knows people and she was obviously there. And I thought at some point it'd be interesting to get you on and do a video with you.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. I mean, I wouldn't, all of the guests that you've had on have been people that have really made a significant impact on that, and I would never say that I was responsible for anything of that much importance. But I definitely, I think part of what you're doing is also trying to show the perspective of not just the people that created it, but also the people that were participating in it and around it and were inspired by it. And I was definitely one of those people. Um,
Yeah, 'cause one thing I loved in the video I did with Jackie, and I get this comment fed back a lot, was that Jackie said there's beauty in the ordinary, and
yeah,
that's why she was drawn to my videos. And not everyone was in a band, not everyone was a superstar DJ, not everyone was on the guest list, and it took a lot of characters and personalities to make the scene, didn't it?
yeah, that's right. You've got to have an audience and you've got to have participants. And it was only when I moved away from Manchester that I realised how lucky I was to have grown up in that place at that time. And I just assumed that everybody's childhood and adolescence was in such a vibrant place of such cultural significance.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise when I went down south. Oh, it was really boring where you grew up, and you didn't have this access to such a vibrant, rich culture, particularly in the arts, music, clothes, culture, art, drama. So much was going on then and is still now. I took that for granted. Um, yeah, and I'm trying to um, make sure that my own kids realise how lucky they are to, although they don't live in Manchester, we've got a huge family still up there, and I take them back there as much as I can and make sure that they realise that they're half Mancunian and what strong links they've got to such an important place.
So when did you start going out in Manchester?
So I grew up in Sale, which is in South Manchester, as you know. But my parents, my mum was from Newton Heath, and she was part of a large Irish family, like Irish Catholic family. So she was one of nine, and all her brothers and sisters. They all grew up in Middleton, Newton Heath, specifically like the Langley estate.
Yeah.
And my dad was from Oldham. So my dad's mum worked in the cotton mills. His dad was a blacksmith. My mum's mum was the landlady of the Cloggers Arms on Oldham Road in Newton Heath.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
And her dad worked on the railways, the Manchester Railways. And they were so short of money that when he died, my grandma took the difficult decision of putting my mum and her younger brother in an orphanage,
Yeah.
because they just didn't have money to feed them. And it was billed as a kind of children's home for children of railway workers. But that's really what it was an orphanage. But yeah, it was called St. Christopher's, and she has mixed memories of being there. But yeah, so that was the sort of background. So even though I lived in Sale, which was considered a posh bit of Manchester, because my mum had this big family, all of our family celebrations were big affairs. I don't mean big as in fancy, I just mean lots of people. And so christenings, weddings, all of that, and it would all be in North Manchester,
Yeah.
all around that sort of area. I think the Langley estate is quite an interesting place because it was built in the 50s, wasn't it, from the slum clearances of the city
Yeah.
centre.
Yeah.
So it had a real sense of community. There's a lot of Irish people lived there. So yeah, and when I was at primary school, I did a lot of acting, and And then to everyone's surprise, because I was quite naughty, Paul, I passed my 11 plus and went to Sale Grammar School.
Yeah.
Which, again, that was considered posh because it was a grammar school. But for me, I enjoyed it because, I liked some aspects of studying, but it had no arts at all. It was great academically, but the grammar schools in the 80s, it was just all about well, mine was anyway, it was all about studying the academic subjects, and it wasn't really great on the arts. And the comprehensive down the road, they were putting on brilliant shows and things. So anyway, I had a wonderful drama teacher there, Mrs. Bellamy, and she'd done a bit of professional work, and she got me to audition for Manchester Contact Theatre.
Yeah.
So I don't, as I'm sure you know, it Manchester Contact Theatre in the 90s, it was a real sort of pioneering venue, and it was dedicated to young people, and it in being really innovative and inclusive theatre, and it was really characterised by its commitment to community engagement. And so it was a different world to me, because I was in quite a straight-laced Sale Grammar School, and then this place was, it was great, and it still now to this day has an enduring impact on Manchester's cultural landscape. It's just a great place, as you know. And I got cast in several plays then. One of them was Manchester Girls, which was part of the Manchester Festival. And then through that, I got an agent, Barbara Pemberton, and she just set up an agency because so much was going on then in Manchester at that time with the BBC and ITV. And there was loads of great writers and directors, Lawrence Till being one of them, who went on to produce Shameless.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so he was a producer on that for years and years and years. So she set up an agency, and she was getting sort of Manchester kids involved in that. So I ended up being cast on a children's drama series called Rama.
Oh, I remember that.
You remember that?
Yeah. What year was that?
That's 1989. So I was born 75. So I've just turned 50 2 weeks ago, or 4010 as I like to call it.
Yeah.
And there was a load of Manchester kids on that, and children's ward. There was all those sorts of programs being made at the time. And it was just a really great time to be part of it all. And at the same time, my boyfriend at the time, Damien Morgan, he was, so all sort of through school we were together. He was a DJ, and he even though he didn't have much money, he was the first person I knew. He got himself a set of decks, bedroom full of vinyl. And so I was acting and performing, and he was DJing, and we were both 14, 15, 16, 17, that sort of age. And he, through his DJing, sorry, that's my kids coming through the ceiling. Through his DJing, he got asked to play on 808 States radio. Was Sunset Radio, wasn't it? Yeah. So he got asked to play on that, and he became friendly with them, and I'd go along with him. I met Darren and Andy and Nicky Lockett. He got asked to, he was a break dancer as well, so he was a really talented dancer as well. So he got asked to, he was danced on the video to The Only Ram That Bites.
Yeah.
So he danced with Nicky, and so I sort of was going with him and going to these places, and getting more and more into music as well because of that. And he was sort of supporting me with my acting stuff. So it was that really creative time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure none of those lads would remember me now because I was only 14, but I looked older. So I was telling everyone I was 18 because I was having a drink, but we were just a pair of kids blagging it.
Yeah.
And at the same time as doing that, I decided that I wanted to get a job at Afflecks. Because so I lied again. I said I was 16 when I was 14, and I got a job as a Saturday girl in Cafe Society, which was the big vintage clothing store. So it had 2 levels to it, and the bottom level was in Afflecks Arcade. So we were next door to the Barbers, and then next door to the Barbers was Identity, and then opposite Identity was Eastern Bloc. And in those days, there was such a sense of community in Afflecks at that time. It was just such a creative hub for everything, and it was just a real meeting point, wasn't it, for the burgeoning music scene. And Acid House had been born a couple of years before, and it was just a great place to work. So because they thought I was 16, I started skipping more and more school so I could work there more and more days.
Yeah.
God knows how I managed to pass my GCSEs, but I did somehow.
Yeah.
And I ended up becoming friendly with all those lads, and they were that sort of humor of that sort of humor in that sort of plays, for those sort of very intelligent, creative, but very working class, very quick-witted, very sharp lads at that time. It was just such a great place to work, and we all used to go drinking in Dry Bar after work, me still pretending to be 18. And then obviously we'd go to the house, and Damien was getting asked to DJ more and more, so he was doing DeVille's, Isadora's, Lazy Lil's.
Oh yeah, I used to
The
love
venue.
Langley.
Do you remember the venue?
Yeah,
On
yeah,
Whitworth Street, the
yeah,
venue. And I'd be carrying his record box because, of course, in those days there's no USBs.
yeah,
So we were out every night, going. I was supporting him clubbing, and he was supporting me with all of my acting stuff. And it was just such a fabulous time to be there.
yeah,
And I wanted to train to be an actor. And it was just when they pulled funding for drama school, so you couldn't get a grant anymore for drama school. You could only get a grant to do a drama degree,
yeah.
which was, being a little bit of a class warrior, like I'm sure you are. I thought was terrible, because I was a working class girl and I couldn't go and study to be an actor. So I went down south. I actually got offered a place at Liverpool Uni and down in London, and for whatever reason I went down to London. I think because by that time I was going to Cream as well, and Bar, and
Yeah.
so I was hot footing it across the motorway, Manchester to London. I was clubbing the whole time, and I think I just thought, right, come on, if I'm going to be serious about this acting thing, I've got to stop going out every night. But the point of that was just to say that when I got down to London to uni, I couldn't believe that people weren't from where I was from, and they hadn't had the experiences that I'd had, and they hadn't been going out clubbing, and they hadn't been doing all of these things. And it made me realise, how lucky I was.
Afflecks Palace, like just listening to you there, Afflecks Palace was amazing.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I go in there every so often now, and it's just the shops, but back then it was almost like a night out. You go in there Saturday afternoon, and you could feel the energy, couldn't you? And the excitement, and you were in the middle of something happening, weren't you?
Yeah, it definitely felt like that. And also, because Damien was also, wanting to get all of the, the best records as they came out. We'd go round, obviously, to Eastern Bloc, but also Spinning Records,
Yeah,
where Mark XTC was the manager.
yeah,
So we got to know those lads. And obviously the DJs would all meet there because, there was no internet or mobiles, wasn't it? So that's where they went to meet and talk about records and buy records and compare what they thought about them. And like you said, it was like, they'd be behind the counter, like playing the music for them to listen to. So that became, and then that would have, like, you'd have a couple of beers and someone would like a joint. And, so it just became that it was a social thing as well.
yeah, yeah. And that's like it doesn't get talked about much, does it? But that's part of the whole thing. Everyone just talks about the hacienda, but the record shops. It was exciting going in the record shops, wasn't it?
Really exciting. And it was everything as well. It was clothes, fashion and music. I mean, I remember arriving on the first day at uni in a Gio Goy jacket. I was such a big fan of that label. And I just thought, I mean, that even that sort of clothing was exciting, wasn't it? And I remember just being such a big fan of everything that the Donnelly brothers were doing, Anthony Donnelly, and
yeah, a Manchester clothing label that got really big, wasn't it? And
yeah, and I remember I remember arriving at uni in a denim jacket that said, and this is in, and I thought because we had no internet, and it said on my application London, I thought it was like proper London, like inner city London, like Camden, but where I'd gone mistakenly was Twickenham. It was like a really like quiet, you know, like Altrincham. It was like a really nice, quiet area. And I arrived in this like denim jacket with Gio Goy dodging the rain and bullets across it. And you know, like spliff in one pocket and God knows what else in the other pocket. And so yeah, it was that the clothing as well. My brother, he worked in he went to Manchester Grammar School, and there was a lot going on there as well at that, even though it was, again, it was seen as a posh school, but we weren't posh. My brother got a scholarship. It was, there was a lot going on with some of the kids there, and he got a job at in the Royal Exchange. They had Geese and Voy, I think it was called, and they were the two kind of designer shops. But you know, outside of London, you didn't really have those sorts of labels.
You had a DJ in the record shop, didn't in the record shop in was it Geese, or I remember they had a DJ in there sometimes.
Yeah, that's right, in Geese.
Yeah.
So I mean, we used to take the piss, you know, that they were the posh boys, but they were still, you know, they were still really into the clothes and music. You know, it didn't matter like that, did it? And he was in the house every night, and as you said, it wasn't just the hacienda, and there was, not in the early days, I don't think there was that snobbery, and I don't know how misplaced it was, but certainly because I was a bit younger, I did. When I was first going out, it was seen as the house was a little bit, it wasn't posher, but it was just a bit more kind of like, you know, we knew we'd get in the venue, no problem. We'd had a great, more of a rough and ready night, you know. And so he was a bit older, and he worked in Geese, so he was going there every night, and he was going to Flesh and Nude and Hot and all of those nights. And he then went on, he moved down south as well, and he went on to start, it really inspired him to start putting on his own events. So he went on to start putting on events at the Rocket on Holloway Road. And then he went on to found his own music events company. You know, so the point of me saying that is just that for both of us, you know, it had such an impact having that upbringing, then fed into what we did later on in life. You know, because it just really inspired us to carry on both being creative in what we do for a living for the rest of our lives. And I think that's squarely down to our upbringing and the scene that we were participants in.
Yeah, it was extra special, wasn't it? It was like it was and that's why I want to do more videos with clubbers, rather than, I mean, I'll do DJs as I go along, but it was people that made it, want it, and people, you go in you go in a club like the Hacienda, or maybe the Conspiracy, and it wasn't all
Conspiracy, God, yeah.
yeah, it wasn't all media types, was it? It was.
No.
I mean, I'm releasing a video this week with Tony Ross, and then the week after with Pete Arm, and I was literally talking to Pete an hour ago, and we're saying how, you know, we talk about the Arndale fish market and how all the staff used to go to Hacienda.
Yeah.
We don't know how we did it because we did Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But it was like the Arndale fish market staff, and it wasn't all super trendy people, was it?
No, I think that was a misconception. And it went through waves, didn't it? It went through different iterations.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, I remember because I when I left, well, after I'd done my GCSEs, I didn't want to stay on at my school to do my A levels, so I went to Loreto College in Moss Side, and that would have been 91 to 93. So it was the height of, you know, the media dubbed Gunchester. It was the height of all of that. Now, obviously, you know, I didn't live there. I'm not claiming that I lived in Moss Side. I went to college there. It's very different to for the people's lived experiences that grew up there. I went to college there, but at the same time, Damien's brother was a dancer, and he'd got a job in Ibiza, Amnesia, I think it was. And so we took over he had a flat, council flat at the top of the high-rise Grafton Court, right next to Loreto College. So we sort of moved in there for 2 years. Hopefully we won't get in trouble with the council saying that all these years later. Subletting to his younger brother.
Yeah.
So we moved in there because it was better for him to be near town for his DJing, and I was obviously going to college on the doorstep. So for 2 years we lived there, and he obviously had his decks and all his music there, and we were right on the top floor. I think it was the 22nd floor, so we had that amazing view of the whole city,
Yeah,
and you'd have all the pirate radio stations, and we were going out every night, him playing and me doing whatever. I was dancing and singing as well. I mean, we had used to have people around the flat for smoke and to listen to music, and then I ended up doing vocals on a record. Can't remember for the life of me what it's called. I wish I could. But those sort of opportunities, like, they just happened all the time at that time.
yeah,
Just some lads coming round. They were doing all right with their music. Well, oh, you can sing, can't you, Jane? Here, you are. And then ended up on a record.
yeah, yeah. And some people got really big, didn't they? But you just captured the excitement really well there. And unlike the pirate radio stations as well, they were amazing, weren't they? Uh,
Mm.
I'd love to hear some of the tapes. Like I know some people have kept them from.
That would be amazing if you were able to somehow play some of the tapes.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, it must be so weird. I mean, young people, that's all they'll be used to, but they've got the world at the finger with Spotify, aren't they?
Yeah.
But we had to like discover music, didn't we? You had to put the effort in. You had to like tune into these radio stations at certain times, or hang out in record shops, or you couldn't just like switch your phone on and have a playlist straight away, could you?
No, it was really exciting. I mean, in some ways, social media and everything, what I like about it is things like that you're doing,
Yeah,
that it's connecting people, it's making it more accessible in that way. And if people have a talent, they can just start doing it. They can
yeah,
just start doing it on TikTok or Instagram or wherever. They can just start uploading content onto YouTube. And, obviously, if it's good enough and they're passionate and they believe in it, it may get picked up by people, and they may end up making a living out of it and getting some kind of recognition for it. But with all great art, the best art and the best culture is just born out of grassroots people having a passion and wanting to do it. And if you just concentrate on what it is that you're passionate about, then other things may follow. Money and recognition may follow, but you can't do it the other way around because there's no
yeah,
authenticity or provenance to it. So I think that's what Manchester had, was just that it was just this kind of you could kind of be part of it and touch it and feel it. If you were creative and you wanted to create something, whether it was writing, music, art, fashion, you felt like it was possible in that place at that time.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like it's just totally unique, unique period, wasn't it? I wonder whether it'll happen again. Um, it's hard. It feels like it's all gone as far as it. I can't imagine, and maybe because I'm too old now, but I can't imagine like a new. It's gone as far as it can. Music. I feel like sometimes like, will there be a new scene? I mean, if there is, I'll be too old for it, won't it? But I can't see anything like that happening again.
No, I mean, I don't know. I'm hopeful. I mean, I go up and down to Manchester. I was saying to you previously that, I was there yesterday. I still visit, my family as often as I can. And I was up there yesterday visiting my mum. And um, on these, for me, from where I live now, it's a, 4-hour car ride. And I often go up with my teenage son who's 15, nearly 16, and he's into his music. And luckily, he's got me to help him to
Yeah.
help him understand the rich heritage of the right music to listen to. But we will take turns playing music on the way up, and I'll play, all my stuff, and then he'll play his stuff, and so much of what he'll play to me has samples of our
Right.
music
Yeah.
that he doesn't know, and then I'll play him the original and say, oh, well, that's great, that samples from this, listen, and I'll play him the record.
Yeah.
But then, saying that, I mean, I'm at home, there's a picture of the Beatles there on the wall.
Yeah.
You know, Obviously the Beatles were a huge influence on, some of the music that came out at the 90s, the Charlatans and,
Yeah.
those sorts of indie bands, the Stone Roses, you know, Happy Mondays were all influenced by the Beatles and the Stones. along with obviously lots of other genres. But
Yeah.
so it is, each generation does influence the next. I've yet to hear anything that he plays that I've thought, wow, that's knocked my socks off. That's so
Yeah.
exciting. I still think my stuff's better, but I guess I guess my dad would have thought his stuff was better than mine.
So that's like a good way we can end this now, is to talk about the track. So say like pretend I don't know anything about house music, or like pretend I'm young and tell me what was a good track in your era. What's it,
um,
what should I be listening to? Pick a favorite.
yeah, I mean, what I play to Archie, that's my son.
Yeah.
I've obviously got my favourites. I mean, I play him a lot of Inner City,
Yeah.
um, you know, Inner City Life, Voodoo Ray, 808 State, Pacific.
Pick one
Uh,
track.
do
It's
you know what
hard.
I'm going to say? And
Yeah.
for me, it's just personal because it just takes me right back to that time. And lots, I have such a soft spot for The Only Rhyme That Bites.
R.I.M.
Yeah,
CG. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I just love, musically and vocally. I think that's a great track. Yeah.
Well, I'll stop recording now. Thank you so much.